All right, guys, we'll go ahead and get started. I want to give the first part of the meeting tonight over to Matt or Gravy Leg there to kind of promote the protest. I saw on Facebook today we're running into some issues with Facebook flagging stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, for some reason, like all the things that we shared got flagged as inappropriate content or spam. The website is still up. We're working on it currently, and to get around it, we set up a Twitter so we can post the link to Twitter, and then you can view anything that we have going on from there.
Perfect. You want to provide a link to the Twitter?
Yeah, let me grab that real quick.
Okay, no worries. And then while you're doing that, oh,
Yep.
go ahead, bud.
Oh yeah. So I got that. Everything else is still up and running. Everything's going well. Yeah, I mean, I know when Enoch should be here shortly. He should be here any minute. He's on a call right now.
That's fine. I just wanted to
Yeah.
give some time to you guys so that we could get, make sure everybody stays informed on that. And then you want to talk about it a little bit for those that are new or don't know?
Yeah, so if anybody that hasn't heard, UFDA Crew started helpsaveourhobby.com, and we're doing a protest, was it the 28th and the 29th in Hancock Park in Washington, D.C. So it's Friday and Saturday. It's next Friday and Saturday, not this coming, but a week from this weekend. And yeah, like it's a no-fly zone. Don't bring any drones, nothing like that. We might actually wind up having a meetup on Sunday down in Baltimore. Talk to Cricket and Bot. We might just all go down there and fly where it's not, across the street from the FAA in definitely a no-fly zone. I've been contacting food truck vendors. We got people speaking. I mean, it's going to be a good time.
Did I see that you guys sort of have a schedule of events posted out there somewhere now?
Yeah, the schedule is actually on the website. I'll drop the link to helpsaveourhobby.com in the chat as well. It'll be under our just directly under our Twitter, or well, under what
I got
Dan
it.
just posted. There we go. Oh, cool. You already got it. Right on.
Now nobody can miss it.
Yep.
Hey, Enoch, how you doing, bud?
Doing all right. I had better days, though.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. I was letting Matt kind of explain what was going on. He gave us a link to your Twitter, which is perfect, and then we've got the website up there.
Has
Cool.
Facebook said anything about why they've taken stuff down?
I mean, it says that it's spam or it goes against their community guidelines, which is it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
I mean, people were starting to share the link though, but it's weird because they took advertising money from this other guy who was boosting the Facebook page, and maybe he was boosting the post that got taken down. And then I started boosting the post because I felt like I should be doing it too if he's doing it. And they took $20. They charged me $20 and took down all the pages.
Yep.
Well, that's super fun. Well, hopefully we can get that resolved in the next, day or two. But
yeah, I hope so.
It's kind of critical to have it up now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There was I did check. Dave shared one of your guys' videos on the FPVFC. That one's still active. So
it was, I think it's directly related to sharing the link to our website.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if that link to our website was in a post, they'll probably flag it and take it down. If you see that and then you put that in for review, like the more people who put that in for review, probably the better for us. If it's like some type of algorithmic flagging that's happening.
All right. So if you see it, just post it for review, and then once that goes, hopefully once we get that fixed, we can not restart, but ramp up the campaign again. So really good deal, guys. If you can make it to DC, Big deal. These guys are very organized, and I want to thank them for all the work that they're putting into it. It's a great help, and I think it's going to be a great turnout, and I can't wait to be there. So, speaking of the FAA, this is going to be our last meeting before comments go in. So, I just wanted to take a few minutes. I think at this point, we are somewhere in the 18,000 comments, which is massive. So if you put in a comment, thank you. That's awesome. If you haven't put in a comment, please do. It's very important so that we can keep doing what we do, and hopefully we can do so without all the regulations that are, threatening to bog us down. So on that note, I've gone through quite a bit of the comments, and we've got a lot that are copy and pasted from the AMA. We did post our response, and you're welcome to attach that to your responses if you haven't done so already. It's 26 pages. Don't copy and paste it. It won't let you anyway, because I think you're restricted to 5,000 characters. But feel free to attach that along with pictures of what you do, where you're flying, who you're flying with, if you've got educational or family or anything like that, to really put that personal perspective on your comment. It's a really big deal, so that we can put a face to the hundreds of thousands of people who enjoy this hobby, whether you fly FPV or aerial photography or model aircraft, fixed wing, helicopters. It doesn't matter. It's going to affect all of us. So we really need to get that on. Enoch, remember the live streams from the protests will drive comments too? Yep, absolutely. Any videos? I know Drew put out a video. I put out a video. Several. I mean, I can't count the number of videos that people have put out regarding this. So you can provide links to those videos, anything just to get our message through. So
one suggestion I recently...
We had one... Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, one suggestion I recently heard was to search your local news organizations for any positive drone posts, contact those reporters and let them know that this is going on and that they're possibly looking for stories and might cover this. So just a suggestion, if anybody knows anyone or has some time to do some advertising, get a hold of some reporters and see if they'll cover it.
That's a great idea.
We also had a request yesterday for a flyer that could be in PDF format that could be downloaded, printed off, and given to schools, colleges, hobby shops to simply ask people to post. That's up on the website. Thank you, Josh and Dan. And that can simply be printed off. We did include FPVFC instructions. Frankly, the links that we've put together are very nice, and it's really easy and effective as opposed to trying to find it yourself. So that's why we included the FPVFC stuff in that flyer.
So just quick run around the room. Who has still to post a comment? And if there's something we can help you with to get that done, let us know. But has everybody here posted a comment to the FAA?
No, this week.
This week? Okay. Just make sure and get it in before. I know last week there was some issues with the website and people were struggling to get their comments posted. I just don't want that to happen to anybody. So try and wrap those up quick, get them in early. While a last minute comment is still a comment, I just don't want them to be. Whoa.
Sounds like Flying Sasquatch has an open mic there.
Flying Sasquatch, can you mute yourself, bud? Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So, just don't want anybody to run into any website issues there. Any comments, questions about the FPV response? Anything that we can clarify for you? That
Can
we
I
can.
remind people to also go on to Flight Test
Ab-
YouTube channel and take their survey?
Absolutely. I was actually in the middle of doing that right before the meeting. I think I have a. Let me get the link for that real quick. If you don't have it.
I can get it if you need me to.
Yeah, if you don't mind, we can throw it up there. There we go. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate that.
I think they have the link to their form there on that main page somewhere. Yeah, there it is. It says take our survey.
Perfect. Let me grab the direct link real quick for everybody. There we go. So I know they're meeting with the FAA, so definitely a good deal to take their survey. There's a lot of questions there, but don't let that stop you from taking it. It's very easy. It's still quick. I think maybe 10 minutes to get it done, and a lot of good questions, and hopefully they can relay a lot of that to the FAA. So that's definitely a big deal. What else can we clarify for you guys before we move on to next steps? Nothing? All right, so next steps after this, and we'll probably start rolling this out here in the next week and a half, would be letters to your local senators and representatives, as well as people on the, Dave, help me out here. Is it
On the
Board of
the focus,
Transportation?
the focus we want is the subcommittees and committees that are relevant to the FAA and also the FCC. So certainly the House Subcommittee on Aviation and the Senate Subcommittee on Aviation and Space, and I found the appropriate subcommittee on the FCC the other day. It slips my mind right now, but we'll have them documented not only with chairs and ranking members, but members of the subcommittees. And we'll write up and now as we change to this, now copy and paste is okay. So if so calling is good, but copy and paste will work, and we'll work up draft memos.
Gonna be estimated, I don't know. We're anticipating it might be kind of fast tracked, but that's just. But generally, from NPRM phase to actual implementation, usually anywhere from 12 to 18 months. But that's not a reason to get lax in our ability to reach out and talk to the pertinent people that can actually affect what's going on with the FAA. We all know that there's some interesting ties to ID from DoD and DHS, thank you, as well as Commercial Drone Association, the CDA. But at the same time, we need to be reaching out to the people who represent us, so that they can be informed, they can understand what's at stake, which in terms of FPV and in terms of model aircraft is a lot. If you watched my video, I mean, it's all about STEM and developing the next generation of pilots, and both manned aircraft and drone pilots and UAS pilots and everything else. And they're really shooting their future workforce in the foot by making this a very difficult hobby to get into. So You know, we all know we have an excellent safety track. We all know that um, it's important for STEM and for development and innovation. And I don't think a week or 2 weeks goes by that something new isn't rolling out. Some new command and control, like the crossfire shot, or new technology, whether it's HD or anything that the commercial side is going to take this stuff as well and really bring that in. And so we're kind of the proving ground. We're the testers of what's happening in the UAS space. And by limiting that, they're kind of limiting themselves. So.
And I'd
I
like to
see.
toss out there that there's a lot of people on our side that we might not necessarily think about. I was talking with somebody from the Civil Air Patrol, and they are totally against this remote ID proposal, and they occasionally use drones. Some search and rescue crews, some civil engineering people, uh, my local state Department of Transportation, they're all on our side with this.
You know, you guys were talking about getting in touch with your senators. I just posted a link there for Utah Senator, I believe it's Utah Senator Mike Lee.
Mike Lee, yeah.
Yeah, that's proposing the.
Yeah, well, this is a piece of legislation that we are not in support of.
Oh, really?
It has we've tried to be vocal about it. Let's see, this is 2607, Senate 2607, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
so here's the deal, and I've gone through this a couple of times, and there's a couple threads on our Facebook where I kind of talk about this. But the big deal with this is that in order to fly, well, based on this, it basically gives not only the private citizen control over their airspace, which in some regards is good, in some regards is bad, but by doing so, it also gives the city control of airspace. It gives the counties control of airspace. It gives the states control of airspace. Imagine trying to fly in a realm where, number one, your neighbors don't want you flying around their house or over their house, and then the HOA that you live in, the homeowners association, has put in their rules that you can't fly. And then the county has put in their rules that you can't fly or that you need permission to fly. And
or
then
you have to pay a fee.
or you have to pay a fee to access the airspace. So in order to actually fly, you're going to have to touch base with not only the people's homes that you're going to be flying over, or the school that you want to fly at, or the park. You have to reach out to counties and states and HOAs, and it just makes it so impossible to
So it's not
uh
private property.
what's that?
So it's not, as it's saying, private property.
No, because if you read deeper into it, they talk about how the cities would be required to designate takeoff and landing points, and that model aircraft could fly within a certain border, but it leaves all that up to those individuals to dictate rules. So like in Arizona, the state has, very nicely basically set a law in place that says no divisions of the state, which would be a city or a county or a township or anything like that, would are able to make rules regarding UAS, that the state has put into effect, that they are the sole control of any UAS laws. So, and in fact, they dictate that cities have to do certain things about model aircraft and whatnot. Like they have to designate at least one park per city. So like Phoenix metro area is made up of 10 or 15 different towns or cities. So each one of those has to have a location where people can fly model aircraft, which is amazing. It's great. But at the same time, you start giving more control to the cities and the states. And we've already seen cities that have tried to lock people out of the sky. Like, I know if anybody follows the UAV legal discussion, the Genesee County, they confiscated, they arrested somebody, they confiscated his equipment, and just recently they were able to get that overturned. But there are some areas in the country that are not friendly to model aircraft or UAS. And imagine I'm flying to Colorado, or I'm flying to New Jersey, or any number of places. You have to know what the laws are there if you want to go fly. So it's this web of nonsense that is going to be so extremely difficult to navigate for anybody, not only on the recreational side, but also on the commercial side. Let's say you want to start up a aerial photography business. It just makes it really difficult to navigate those rules and laws, or even do business in certain places.
Is that preferable to, well, I mean, is remote ID preferable to this situation where you have basically federalism on airspace, where I guess I'm asking because I'm sort of in the camp.
We call that a pejorative question.
I mean,
There's another piece of legislation that's also out there. Let's see. Yep, there it is. Senate 2502. Unlike 2607, this has bipartisan support. It was introduced back in September by Senator Scott. And interestingly, over the last month or so, this one has a prognosis that has dropped from 20 down to 3%. So this one is not good for us either. This bill restricts the sale of Chinese manufactured drones, Chinese manufactured drone components, as well as the funding of any federal agency using Chinese drones or components, and that includes research, colleges, etc.
Okay. Yeah, my concern is that convenience. I know it won't be very convenient, but don't concealed carry. I guess there's a gun debate here then going on. Is like a concealed carry has this exact same issue where you have to know correspondences between states. But I guess there's either we face tyranny from the federal level, and if RID goes through, would it be preferable then to just have states have the 200-foot airspace thing? It's, I guess, pick your poison. Which evil do you want? But
exactly, and that's what makes it very difficult. And the one thing you do bring up is concealed carry, or it's how that kind of translates between states. But imagine trying to navigate that on a city, county, state level. It's not just a state, but it's going to be any breakdown of that level, as well as your local communities. I mean, we live in a not to cast a shadow over society, because that's not what we're here to do, but we live in a time where most of us don't even talk to our neighbors, and we are skeptical of anybody who knocks on our door. So yes, that would encourage you to build those relationships, but at the same time, for people who are not comfortable doing that, it makes it very difficult to go out and enjoy a hobby. So you just got to think about stuff like that. It really is, it's pick your poison. But on a certain level, and I know people are going to disagree with me, I would rather talk to one direct agency that can affect everything than try and fight that battle piece by piece. It's like death by 1,000 cuts almost, in my mind. Correct me if I'm wrong. If somebody sees it from a different perspective, please feel free to jump in.
Well, it's actually the perspective shared by AUVSI, Commercial Drone Alliance. Every single other organization there also favors having the FAA have superiority over the airspace down to the grass. I feel like there's ultimately a point where, I mean, really, can the FAA really dictate what can take off and land out of your front yard? There has to be, it's like you have national highways, federal highways, you have state roads, and then you have local municipal roads. Each of those, you have different rules of the road, and they also have different ownership. And I feel like airspace only being national only, that just doesn't work, as we now have the ability to navigate in the micro airspace, so to say.
Well, I agree. If I want my 3-year-old to drive my truck in my driveway, she should be able to, right? Sorry. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, we need the equivalent. So there might, at some point in the future, if you had a completely
Here's the thing that I see with that, right? industry doesn't want that at all, because then they're going to have to come to us and buy rights to come and land in our yard, or have us sign away our rights for them to do any type of delivery or something like that. You know? So they're going to push back against that every step of the way, I'm sure.
So, from what we know and from what we're talking to people who are working closely with the Hill, these are two active pieces of legislation. We're not in support of either of them for reasons we've stated, and our campaign on the letter writing will be focused on the subcommittees, and so that's the approach that again, this is we're getting good advice. I feel it's positive advice. It's certainly have decades of experience from folks in the manned aviation field who have been working with the FAA, and that's their recommendation to us.
Isn't there another bill out there dealing with privacy?
Well,
that may only apply to commercial, though.
There's tort, but the uniform tort has been set aside. Is that the one you're thinking of, or is this a federal House or Senate?
Different. I believe House. And
well, the Senate,
I just read a little bit about it today.
The Senate one talks ostensibly about security.
This one was specifically on privacy, in that
privacy. Okay.
Well,
if you find it, let me know.
Okay. Yeah. Let me see if I think I might have found it on Yahoo.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, if you see something that we haven't seen, please feel free to shoot it to us so that we can kind of, at least take a quick look at it, figure out if it's good, bad, or otherwise, and if need be, obviously, deep dive it and get the information out to you guys, because that's definitely important. Any new piece of legislation we need to kind of react to. But yeah, so I mean, it really is a pick your poison kind of situation, but both of these bills seemingly at this point have a very low chance of actually moving forward. So that can always shift, I'm sure, with some pressure both from the public and whatnot, but at the same time, go ahead, Steve.
I did find it. I'll post a link, but it's House Bill 1065, making it a misdemeanor to trespass or on property or use a drone to record or observe a person in a private place.
I think that's South Dakota specific. I think that's House.
Oh, is it?
As in South Dakota House?
Yeah. That is South Dakota. Okay. Yeah. I didn't read that far into it, but you're right.
It had me going too. I'm searching all over the place for 1065, and I'm coming up with these different. I'm like, what the heck is this?
That's definitely something to be concerned about, though. In your own state, watch out for what your state's doing and keep up to date with it.
Yeah, and one of the pieces of there's a uniform tort organization, and this is an organization of attorneys across the United States that create consistent laws, and so they all agree on what's a good piece of legislation, and then they hand that to state legislatures as well as county, and so it enables. It's for common sense things, it's a good practice because it gives us a consistent set of laws across the country. Unfortunately, they were creating for some 3 years some very onerous drone tort law, and happily last summer they all set it aside and said, this is too controversial and too unsettled at the moment, and they may pick it up in the future. And that was a day I cracked a couple of cold ones, because that would have been a very difficult onslaught of simultaneous legislation to combat across the country.
So speaking of local regulations, something to be aware of, I just was talking to my local Department of Transportation, and they actually talked a few cities in my state out of drone regulations, because they went to the city council meetings and sort of educated them on the facts and talked them out of their otherwise restrictive drone regulations.
That's great. And oh, by the way, folks like Vic Moss of Drone University have done things like that. And so one of the collateral benefits of the NPRM is we've got a good relationship with Drone U and both Paul Aiken as well as Vic Moss, and very appreciative for the collaborative work that we've done with them and the good work that they do with the various local and state legislatures.
Absolutely. So, I just wanted to, I think most important is, really dig into what's behind these bills when you see them. Don't be afraid to ask questions, whether that's of us or somebody else. It doesn't matter. Just don't take it at face value, because I think a lot of that can really kind of blindside people. And again, my interpretation of Mike Lee's bill might be something different from you. I've done a lot of kind of deep thought on it and kind of breaking it down, and it's a rough one. So, but again, I'm open to talk about it. I'm open to talk about any of these. And I know Dave and Dan and everybody here is too. So, but keep in mind that, I just want to reiterate, this does not end when the comment period closes. We cannot relax.
We also had a nice piece of feedback from the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association. And so anyone who flies a private plane or has a pilot's license, a manned pilot's license, knows the AOPA. It's a big organization, highly regarded by the FAA, and they were kind enough to read through our all 24, 26-page comments, and I had had the pleasure of working with one of their executives on a couple of these FAA tasking groups through the DAC. So I heard back from Christopher Cooper, their Director of Governmental Affairs, and their view was they agree with all the major points in our comments with the exception of one. And that one was where we were asking for free flight in uncontrolled airspace. So to me, I take that as a huge positive, that an organization that is as powerful as the AOPA with respect to the FAA, we are generally in complete alignment. And that's good news. And so there are a number of organizations that are like that. Another one is the Alliance for Drone Innovation, where our comments are really in good alignment. And so I'm not saying perfectly, but generally it really sends a message that these organizations, along with us, feel that the NPRM is just out of bounds.
Yeah, I think the general consensus among everybody besides the actual federal government thinks it's a little onerous, but it's been our experience in communicating with people about this stuff. So
there was a drone day in Connecticut, and I went there, and they had 3 tables where one was AP drones, one was some model aircraft, and a FPV drone, and then there was the FAA table that had 3 DJI drones on it. And they seem to tell me that there's they don't see any industry pushing back, which is total craziness to me. And they had no information about the NPRM. They had no information that would be pertinent.
Were these local reps from the FAA? Were they out of the Connecticut region, or they came down to DC?
This was out of DC. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well,
they were directly out of DC. No information on the NPRM. They were just in the zone of they didn't hear about any industry that was scared if these things went through. And the way she worded it was that the FAA would essentially pass it and then make exemptions for things so that they can restrict it as much as they want to whenever they want to.
Do you remember the woman's name?
Yeah, but I'm not going to tell.
Okay. Well, I'd like to know it if you want to PM me.
It wasn't Elaine, was it?
No, I'm not. I'm not gonna say. I personally like this lady. She's a really nice lady.
So,
But
so that's
seems like there's a
that's
disconnect
very
happening.
unusual, and I would be surprised if she did work in the rulemaking organization. I would say okay, because they've yet to be the recipients of the NPRM.
No, she's definitely not in the rulemaking organization. That's for sure.
And so the UAS integration office that reports up to Jay Merkel, any number of those folks are just completely immersed in the whole NPRM topic and the knowledge exam. Dan got to meet one of the fellows, Kevin Morris. I met him in DC along with his director. These folks they know this NPRM chapter and verse.
The thing that was telling was that their table had the DJI drones and then zero things about drones. The rest was stuff about general aviation.
Okay.
I mean, they had like a little card that showed flight zones or whatever, but it was like there was no real information on the table, and FAA wasn't trying to educate anybody. They weren't even educating their own people.
Well, they are a 45,000 person organization, and part of the organization that there's another group called the UAS Safety Team, and they're working to try to create better education and better awareness of what the FAA is doing, positive uses of drones. So, I think we're a long way off, and certainly when you think that the FAA prior from 2016 to 2018 was working very hard to talk about the danger and the number of incidents that we've gotten. We've talked about that they 2013 to 2018 that they identified 7,500 incidents, and thanks to one of our members, the number of confirmed incidents through a Freedom of Information Act is 14 for that same 5-year period. So the FAA has had to turn around and say, "Oh, drones are good," and so they have announced a marketing campaign for 2020 where the whole push is, we're in this together. We're trying to support the notion of that how positive drones are, and of course when you've been bashing a topic for 5 years, it's a little disingenuous to pivot on a dime and say the opposite. But that's what we're working with, and we'll get through it.
Interestingly enough, I think it was either last April or May, there was a DJI white paper, and I don't know if it's Will for his first name or Ed, but from the Facebook, he posts lots of different links. Anyway, he posted this up, and I took a little gander, and boy, it talks about that, and for about 3 or 4 or 5 pages, it just ripped their evidence to shreds.
Yeah, so I think that was the one of the white papers where they were starting the I think the drone to phone app or whatever it was. But
yeah.
There's been some negative reaction on the drone to phone, a recent resubmission or reissuance of that November video, and today DJI came out with a good write-up. We'll make sure it's visible to folks, and it pieces together that DJI is an advocate of privacy. That white paper articulates it. They were participated in the ARC, so we can. I know there's a lot of negative toward DJI, but my view is that they work hard for the recreational drone operator, and that certainly is a big piece of their business too. So it makes good sense, and they're also been helpful to a number of organizations like us, not financially, but in advice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead. Something that I wanted to point out was that if this goes through, there's possible options at the state level that we don't need our elected officials for right away. Like, for example, my state, Massachusetts, has a referendum law where if we gather signatures, we can put up anything we want on the ballot for people to vote on. And one of those things for people to vote on could be the decriminalization of drone operators or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
You could put something in there, and then, for example, when we did medical marijuana or the recreational marijuana law through referendum, one of the laws said that like the state could not use its funds to help the federal government in looking for people. You know, so it's like they were limiting state funds from assisting, which we could use that tactic to say that the FAA can't deputize state agencies, because if they were to do anything for the FAA, that would be using their state funds inappropriately. And under our referendum law, we have the power of the purse, which means we can give money or take money from the people, like from just passing the legislation. Like, no one can complain about it unless they take it back to the state house, and you know, then they'll get a lot of shit on their face if they try to mess with something that the people just passed.
Absolutely.
So that's a radical option, but another one.
It is, but
Yeah,
also
I mean-
keep in mind on a not so radical option that you know, we went through the FAA reauthorization recently, but keep in mind that's also a limited time span on that. And so, you know, not that I want to see anything happen in between now and then, but if need be, we can really push our local officials to, you know, really blast that and really make an impact on the actual reauthorization, because that's the document that gives the FAA the authorization to actually operate, and it sets their goals. And obviously remote ID was in the FAA reauthorization. It's there in black and white. But when that comes back up, you know, again, we need to be heavily involved in that, and the community needs to be heavily involved in that so that we can, you know, really affect what's in there for us. I think the last time, I think the reauthorization kind of blindsided a lot of people. And
they jammed HR 302. They jammed it through, hidden under a
sports
couple
medicine.
of other bills. You got
Yeah.
it. Some sports medicine. Yep.
So, you know, it's definitely something that we need to have on our radar, and not just us, but the entire community, because I think that only lasts for 5 years before they have to redo it again. Am I correct on that, Dave?
That is exactly right.
So, you know, no matter what happens between now and then, you know, we need to be engaged with that process as well. So, you know, hope for the best, plan for the worst, definitely is a proper adage for what's going on right now. So, you know, I just want everybody to be aware that this fight doesn't stop, and it never will stop. And if we want to continue doing what we're doing, we need to be engaged, and that's important. And you know, I really, you know, I think in some ways, when and maybe other people who have been in the hobby for a couple of years can probably attest to this. When I first started, the FPV community was a little bit community. I think we've all splintered into our tribes in some form or fashion, as is human nature. But at the same time, the one thing that this NPRM has done that nothing has since is brought a lot of people together. And we need to really focus on that and tap that power, because you know that's going to be our future right there. So I think I'm kind of preached out.
I just wanted to close with a thank you for the support, and we're at 280 members right now. Thank you everyone for that, as well as thanks for the support to the UFDA crew, both financially as well as the folks able to go down there. Josh will be there, and so thank you for everyone for making the comments, and of course, please suggest to your friends and family to send in comments before the March 2 deadline.
So,
And if so there was a good suggestion yesterday on that flyer. We were able to turn that around inside 24 hours. So if there are requests or suggestions, or if you want us to look at some of your comments, just give us a buzz.
Absolutely. So also on the immediate future, Dave is going to be at the DAC meeting. I believe he
Next
is
week.
presenting.
I'm
So-
presenting the UAS facility map update and recommendations, which includes a recommendation for shielded operations, which was I was able to get in the document, in the proposal, and it was universally well received by air traffic management, airport management, flight air organizations, ALPA, AOPA, AIA, as well as airframe manufacturers. And that's next week, and it will be live streamed.
So we'll be watching. Oh, go ahead.
I got some more information from the FAA. She said that she expects that the certified manufacturer would cost a lot of money. A lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's that to me, I'm concerned about that comment, because what we know is ANSI/CTA-2063, and we also know about subpart F. And then what we don't know about is this enormous aspect of means compliance for the AFA, and so there, so it's I think that erring on the side of being very expensive, I think that's correct, which is certainly why but there's just so much a lack of data and lack of information that we really don't know. However, that is certainly why we pushed for amateur built rules to be essentially tossed out for recreational. I mean, that would severely cripple our ability to fly anything looking like an FPV racing drone or quad or freestyle, whatever if you're making it, you won't be able to unless you fly it in a FRIA, and that to us is not
something
positive.
I've been thinking about recently is, let's look at this giant community of open source flight software developers, right?
Okay, no, I don't see how that would help at all.
No, I'm saying, look at this community, which under the certified manufacturer, I'm sure that they're going to be regulated too. They're not going to say, oh, you know what, you can't build it, but you can put your own software in there. It's not going to happen. So all this open source software development is going to die too.
Absolutely.
Exactly. DO 178 is the bane of my existence. Yeah, look up DO 178, and that's stupid.
How can they prevent people from writing software, though?
Well, it's not that you can prevent it
putting
from
it on a drone.
Exactly, because the problem with the NPRM is that let's say it's a limited class remote ID, which requires an internet connection, which also requires a couple things to happen. Number one, that the drone doesn't take off if it can't connect to the internet. Second, if you go beyond your 400 feet dome, that the drone should not fly anymore. So it has to be integrated not only into the drone, but it has to be integrated into the software. You start planting open source on there, and you're overriding. You're basically, as the FAA calls, tampering with the system, and then it becomes illegal and then falls under the amateur built class. So it's really devastating to the open source community as well. And so
the 3D printing community too. You can't 3D print a mount for your GoPro. You can't add a GoPro. Those are modifications.
Right.
That's correct.
Absolutely. So, even beyond that, it's, just looking at the expense, there's not going to be a lot of FPV companies out there that are, going to be not that they wouldn't be willing, but able to. There's money in the scene. It's, it ebbs and it flows, but I think it would be hard pressed, depending on that cost, for some of our favorite manufacturers, distributors, or whatnot, to develop a solution for the community that would be feasible to the FAA as well. as
Yeah,
well
I
as be able to
could see
pay
it
for it.
though. I could see it though going undergrounds, just like it sort of was before everybody knew about flight controls, because everybody was rolling their own flight controllers out of these 18 mega little processors and stuff. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, people are still going to do it whether there's a law or not.
Well, and that's the thing is that, in order for, remote ID to work, there has to be compliance. And the moment that, not, it's kind of a double-edged sword for us. And
Right. Unreasonable regulations will result in large-scale non-compliance.
Exactly.
We feel that strongly.
Absolutely. And, it's just, it
Well-
relies on it, and if it goes underground, it goes underground. I just think it's going to put a lot of people on the wrong side for something that they don't need to be on the wrong side for, and it's going to be damaging to domestic companies like Get FPV and Pyroflip and all these guys that are in this scene here in the United States, and we're all going to be getting our stuff from China, but it makes it tough, and it's going to cost.
Senate 2502 passes.
Right.
Just kidding.
Listen,
just kidding.
we right now with this protest going, we've got over almost 150 people confirmed on the Facebook, but I know easily 50 people that aren't even on the Facebook that are going.
Mhm.
And so we could end up with hundreds of people in the dead of winter. What happens in the middle of summer if they want to keep messing with us? There's a building momentum of people who just want to have a hobby and not have to deal with the FAA. And I think the FAA is going to get to the point where they just want to have control over airplanes and not have to deal with hobbyists. Because they're not used to this. They're used to friggin' pilots. They're not used to dickheads. And so every old guy and every young guy and every middle-aged person all rising up and saying, hey, get the hell out of my business. I'm trying to fly my backyard, or I'm trying to fly this field, or, it's like they're going to get fed the fuck up, and they're going to talk to Congress too, and we're going to talk to Congress. And I think that there's going to be a middle ground, but it's going to take our pressure. And
Yep, absolutely.
And the pressure is just starting now.
Yep.
Enoch, would it be okay if I came up to the protest to bring up some balls of wood gliders?
Absolutely. Listen, just don't if you want to bring something, we're not. No one's gonna fly, but also don't bring batteries or something. Don't bring if they maybe take a prop off of it, so it's you know what I mean? Just so it's easy for people.
I got a rubber band wind up. I got a rubber band wind up plane.
Well, is that considered powered?
Well, it's not under. It's free flight, so it's not under control. But remember, you're dealing with the Capitol. You're dealing with the Capitol Police and the Park Police, and the UFDA guys have done a great job on permitting. So don't tempt fate.
We've gone out of our way to make
the media on our side, so you don't want anything that could spark the media to put out.
Think about
tell you what, bring your pictures, bring your videos. That's what you need to show off.
Bring your kids.
Absolutely.
If there's ever a way to get a good excuse to get out of school, this is it.
True story.
It's just amazing though. One could actually fly a free flight thing, which is potentially a lot more dangerous than something under control.
Yep.
Well, here's the deal, guys. Is Enoch's right here? The pressure's just building, and we're gonna keep that up. I know a lot of you guys are gonna keep that up. I want to wrap this up so I don't take any more of your time tonight, but we're gonna keep pushing. I encourage you all to keep pushing. I can't wait to go to the protest. I think it's gonna be a good deal. If we get some media attention, man, I think a lot of these guys are gonna, knock it out. I'm willing to talk. I know, a lot of these guys are willing to share their stories, and I'm bringing with me stories that people have shared with me as well, that can't make it. And I think each of you should as well if you're going, because I think the FAA is going to get fed up. I don't think they're used to 18,000 comments on one of their NPRMs. I just don't think.
Remember,
Here's a
he
thought,
said
though,
there's
too.
3,000 comments. That's a lot. He said, friggin' Jay Merkel.
Here's a quick little thing, though, to go out. I mean, maybe there is just out of ignorance, but they just don't know that we exist, and now they do.
No, they're very well aware that we exist.
Yeah.
When we talk to to Jay, his people, the people in the UAS integration office, they are very well aware, and they personally know DRL and multi-GP people. They understand freestyle and the difference between freestyle and racing. The DRL was represented as one of the 12 companies there at the FAA with the UAS knowledge exam.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're pretty, knowledgeable and aware of what we do and who we are.
Not only that, but when the DRL came to Phoenix, FAA was all over that. They were backstage, they were talking, they were inspecting, they were definitely there. So, they know. It's not ignorance. Do I say that all 50,000 employees at the FAA know about us? Probably not. But the ones that are doing the work related to UAS, they know. Yeah.
Yeah, except that, those DRL, they're flying 1,200, kilogram. They're not kilogram, but 1,200 gram things, and ours are all
their view on the NPRM is it's bad, but they'll get waivers because they get waivers today. And I'm not speculating this. This is from a conversation with the DRL. And yet they recognize clearly that it's bad because they're trying to generate excitement around drone racing, and where are they going to have their pilots practice? Inside somewhere?
Right.
So they get it, and and we got nice compliments on our write-up from the DRL. So we have good alignment there. Josh, or there's Ace Nepitz is asking for 30 seconds.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead, bud.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to say I've wished there was some kind of a super figurehead or someone who we could just point to, or who would stand up. And I guess if anyone knows who Paul McCready was, I've always wished that he were alive. I feel like he would have been fighting for this, because he was one of the great air modelers and made AeroVironment. I've been hesitant. I've been holding on to something for 6 weeks. I've been trying to reach out to a sort of modern Paul McCready, someone who I would hope would be that kind of voice who would stand in a position to completely blow all of this away. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Skydio and who Adam Bree is, but I found a few YouTube videos of Adam Bree showing his background in like 8 or 7 years old as an RC modeler. And I can post those here, links to those videos, if that would be appropriate.
Absolutely.
Here we go then. I'm posting it.
I can try to contact him and see if he'll come to the protest.
So, yeah, I don't know what his deal is. I've tried to reach out to him. But if there's one person on the planet who could stand and tell the FAA, you guys are losers, and not that kind of way, but this has got to be the guy who says, look, stop it, because I'm making the DJI killer, and I did RC airplanes as a kid. And I don't think he would be who he is if he didn't have RC airplanes as a 7 or 8-year-old kid in the early 90s. So, and I'm actually the same way myself. I was doing RC airplanes at the age of about 10 and 11. So I'm the same age as this guy, and I've not quite been as successful in life, but I'd love to be able to do the same thing.
I did control line.
What was that?
I did control line.
Right. Same here. You control. You bet.
Anyhow, so that's my 30-second spiel, and there it is. If we can find a way to get a hold of Adam Bree, I'd love to know what his opinion is, if he's aware of this. He's got to be. And I guess Skydio is a member of the CDA, but I don't know what that means, because it's probably
if you think about what Skydio is trying to do, they're also supportive of Senate 2502.
Well, I mean, it doesn't hurt to reach out and get somebody's take at least on it.
Right. Absolutely. I agree.
I think that's been kind of our boon is not being afraid to reach out and talk to people. And
as well as if by and large we're in agreement, then we should work together. I mean, the
Absolutely.
AMA is a good example of that. We're talking to Tyler Dobbs, and there's a lot of what we agree on and some that we don't agree on. So we work on what we agree with.
I'm just gonna say that spreading the word out to people outside our community is, I think, the most important, most impactful thing we can do.
Yeah.
I've been reaching out to like Neil deGrasse Tyson, different people that may have impact, like Adam Savage. And I think if other people start reaching out as well, if there's like a volume of people reaching out to all these people that endorse science in our daily life, I think that might help us get a louder voice.
I've been contemplating. I don't know if any of you know who he is. His name's Kyle Hill. He runs a YouTube channel called Because Science. I've been thinking about reaching out to him.
Oh yeah, you might do it. Yeah.
Just reach out. Everybody.
I was just thinking Tom Scott would be good.
Yeah, if you know somebody, or somebody who would be engaged with this, let's reach out.
Yeah, and Enoch, we agree, and we've talked to XJet, to Bruce, and he agrees as well that the absolute right message to start with for people outside of the hobby is STEM, and it's it's kids, it's youth, it's future innovation, and that's the place to start.
I own a production company because I learned how to solder as a kid doing RC.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the head of engineering for GE Medical or GE Healthcare that I work with, he's actually going to be at Fairfax Medical Center with me, so we're going to be swinging by, and he'll come as a representative of GE as well.
Outstanding.
That's freaking awesome.
I have a question for Enoch. If I wanted to come up to DC for the protest and stuff, and to get a feel of the logistics, would I talk to you or Old Gravy Leg about that?
What logistics are you worried about or wondering about?
Oh, like I'm going to be in Troy, Virginia, or Charlottesville, and so I was wondering if I should just take an Amtrak up to there, or should I get a hotel? Or
the Virginia Rail Express is a good choice.
Oh,
that'll bring you right into L'Enfant.
And then I could get like a cab or something to the protest.
No, they have
a robust metro, and the metro stop is directly next to the park.
Right. Oh. What L'Enfant is the metro station, and it also is a Virginia Railway Express line. So down where you're going, look for a VRE connection. Drive or get to that, and that'll take you right to the protest location.
So it shouldn't take terribly long then to get up to Washington D.C.
A couple hours. It's a bit away.
We actually have all the public transit schedules posted on the Help Save Our Hobby website as well.
Yeah, if you scroll down, you'll find a button. It'll go right to the schedules.
Okay, great. Y'all done some good work, guys.
Geniuses.
No problem. Yeah, you just can't link our site on Facebook anymore. Thanks, Zuckerberg.
Yeah, Jesus.
Really.
Yeah. Thanks for putting this thing viral, guys. We did it.
So much so that they unviraled it.
Exactly.
Oh, sweet.
Another larger person in the drone community that's going to be coming. I reached out to Ken Herron. I'm actually going to be on his show a week from tomorrow. And
awesome.
Possibly me and Enoch, and they're going to be going down for both days of the protest as well.
Excellent.
Oh, hell yeah.
Excellent. Good job.
Very nice.
Cool. All right, guys. If we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you for the extra time. It's been great. This has been a really great meeting. And we will see you on the other side of the comment period. So get your comments in. Feel free to reach out to any of us. There's a few people on the Facebook or in the Discord that have reached out to me for assistance. I'm happy to read your read your response, or give you some ideas, or just run through with an editing comb. It's fine. I don't mind. Hit me up. Hit any one of these guys up. They'll get you taken care of. So with that, I will say good night, and y'all have a great rest of your week.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.
Thanks, guys. See you in DC.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll see you down there.
Night, John boy.
We'll be there. I'll be there from the 27th to the 2nd. So get a hold of me, guys. I'll be around.
I'm flying in on the early morning 28th, so I'll be there.
Cool. Yeah, we'll be in the park by noon, probably. I mean, we'll be all set up by noon in the park.
Perfect.
On Friday.
I'm taking a red eye from Arizona, man.
Fuck yeah, dude. Get it done.
Absolutely. Have a good night, guys.
See ya.
All right.